The vascular plants are divided into seedless and seed plants, but just in general, talking about why vascular plants have an advantage over non-vascular plants, because they have xylem and phloem, they can grow larger, which means they can live in more environments because they don't have to rely on being located right next to water in order to be able to not die of desiccation or drying out from a lack of water. Because they have xylem and phloem, they can have stronger stems that allow them to grow taller. And of course, that allows them to rise above the other plants, which means more sunlight. So, all in all, they have a huge advantage over the non vascular plants. So, the seedless vascular plants consist of 4 phyla. The first 3 phyla are called fern allies. I'm not really sure why, because they're not ferns. I guess they're kind of like ferns, but the last phylum is going to be the actual ferns. And so the seedless plants, again, because they don't have seeds, they're going to reproduce by spores. The first phylum is called Xylitophyta. The common name for this group is the whisk ferns, even though they're not really ferns. I guess that's maybe why they combine them and say they're fern allies. And why they would call something a whisk fern when it's not a fern, I guess just to be seriously annoying and confusing. The distinguishing characteristic of this phylum is that they do not have roots or leaves. They make spores at the end of their short branches, which you can see here, these little kind of knobby thingies in the picture. And they are also epiphytes. Now, epiphytes, remembering that phyte or phyta means plant and epi means upon, on top of, like the epiglottis on top of the tongue. The epiphytes are plants that grow on other plants, but it's especially important to understand that this does not mean that they are parasites. They are not. Um, it's not a symbiotic relationship either. It's not like both species gain something from it. They're literally just plants that need to grow on top of another plant, and nobody's harmed, nobody benefits. I think it's just like, I don't know what an analogy would be, but they're just, I don't know, they grow on other plants. Now, the next one is called Lycophyta. The common name for this group is the club moss. They look like miniature pine trees. So another name for them is ground pine. Now, this big brown thing that you see on top here, that is the strobilus. That is a cluster of sporangia bearing modified leaves. So what does sporangia bearing modified leaf means? It means that it is a leaf which has been modified to bear sporangia, which are spore producing structures. This is a particularly interesting lycophyte. This is a plant that basically turns brown and curls up into a ball at night, which you can see here in the picture on the right. And in the morning, when it gains some water from the moisture from the air, it uncurls and it turns green again. Just kind of a weird type of thing. The next phylum is called Sphenophyta. The common name for this group are the horse tails, which again, I don't really get because it doesn't look like the tail of a horse, but well, what do I know? The thing that distinguishes this group is that their stems are photosynthetic, which is kind of strange. And they're also, you can see based on the picture, they're extremely jointed, and their joints contain silica, which is strange for a plant. And the American pioneers, there's that word pioneer again. So the basically the Europeans that went to America and then started moving west, and they were the first, well, they weren't really the first people there, which I really wish we would use a word other than pioneer. They were the first white people there, which I think is more accurate. They use these plants to scrub their pots and pans, and they use this top part there to do that. And the last group is Pteridophyta. These are the ferns. Ferns are very diverse. Some of them are very small and some of them are very large. I'm sure you can go outside in any part of your yard or at the park and you can see many different types of ferns. The distinguishing characteristic of ferns is that they're all connected by an underground stem, and that underground stem is called a rhizome. And then we have how they're actually formed. If you have a fern in your yard, you might want to go have a look at these kinds of things. I have a what do you call it, a bird's nest fern in my front yard. So maybe I'll take a picture of that because I think I have new fronds coming in, or fiddleheads. So when the new leaf is coming out, it comes out looking like this, and this is called a fiddlehead. A fiddle is like a kind of violin type of thing, and so at the top of that, where you would adjust the tension on the strings, that's why they call it a fiddlehead. And then it will eventually uncurl to form the compound leaf, which is called a frond.